Hi everyone, Jeffrey Rising here. A little bit different view today. It's after 5 o'clock, so everyone's gone from the office. So a couple of things I want to talk about. Let's talk about fault versus responsibility. So fault is a pretty harsh word, so fault, just looking at the dictionary definition here, fault is an error or mistake, a misdeed or transgression, or in another sense, a default or imperfection. So when we're talking about fault in the case of it's your fault, something went wrong, right? So fault's a hard word to accept when someone says something's your fault, just because we've been programmed since we were kids, like whose fault is this? Who did that? Who broke that lamp? Who broke that vase? Whatever, whose fault is it? So that fault is kind of like nails on the chalkboard, right? When you hear that word fault. But we can talk about responsibility. Something goes wrong, or one of your employees or someone you work with does something wrong. It doesn't necessarily need to be their fault, but it is their responsibility that something didn't go right? So I had something over the weekend. We went out of town for 4 days, took a trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and Pigeon Forge. Great time. So I thought I had everything perfectly set up. Great, I can get out of town. No work problems. No work. Emailed everybody, hey, I'm available for emergencies only. But one of my listings, it's a commercial listing. It's been showed so few times, and mostly I'm the one showing it. Other agents have not shown this. I get the calls and I'll show it myself. But another agent wanted to show it, so they went to set up the showing. So I get the showing time email to set up the showing. We're out doing touristy stuff in Gatlinburg. I'm not checking my emails. So then I'm getting texts from my office like, hey, how does someone get into the showing? First, my first reaction is to be mad. Like, dang it, I'm trying to get out of town. Why can't everybody just leave me alone and take one damn day off without getting a freaking text, right? That's how it goes. You've all been there, you know it, right? But I thought about it for a while, and it wasn't their fault. It was my responsibility to make sure everything was covered and all my bases were covered before I left town, and I did not do that on this particular listing. I should have had that set up. It's a vacant commercial building. I just should have had that set up on a go and show, like, hey, here's a lockbox info, go show it if you're a realtor. But I didn't do that, so I've accepted responsibility for the fact that I screwed that up. So the only person I can be mad at is myself for not thinking ahead and making sure everything was taken care of before I left town. Because, if I don't want to be bothered on vacation, then I should make sure I have all my ducks in a row and all that kind of stuff, right? So I've accepted responsibility for something that was my fault. So just think about that in your business, especially when you're talking with your agents or employees, or even accepting things that you did wrong. Stop using the word fault, okay? It's not nobody's fault, but it was your responsibility to make sure that was done. So try to put that spin on it when you're talking to staff or employees or co-agents or other agents. Stop saying the word fault, because that immediately puts someone on the defensive, right? When you say fault, it kind of makes them tighten up and get ready for a verbal battle, right? Like, how dare you say it's my fault? So say, hey, you know what? That was your responsibility. This was supposed to take place and didn't happen, so that was your responsibility to make sure that happened. How are we going to fix that? Let's start from here, because here's where we're at. So use that word, responsibility versus fault, and see if you have a better outcome in your conversations. Talk to you soon.